Good morning, America! The DJ back at it again. Got an update on some news that we broke yesterday. And you're not going to be, you might be surprised, you might not be surprised on this one, folks. You might not be surprised. Migrant crime is expanding. Let's talk about it. I got a video for you. Yes, it's all about migrant mayhem here in Chicago. And I'm DJ Wonder Chrissy. This is Land Cruiser Midwest. Come enjoy the show, folks. Enjoy the show. Let me bring the music down. And let's get going with the show. Yeah, so as I said, we've got some video here from Fox News Chicago, and they broke the news that yesterday reported there was a knife fight in Streeterville. Now, Streeterville's down by the Mag Mile. It's a pretty upscale area of Chicago with upscale apartments and condos, and you got to have some bucks to live there, okay? So they're reporting that the knife fight that happened over the weekend amongst a couple of dudes. One of them was a migrant, and they're reporting that there's a significant amount of crime rising in the district of Streeterville, the Mag Mile, right ahead of Memorial Day. That's not good, because Streeterville is the big tourist destination in Chicago, the shopping district where all the money and taxes come from. So let's watch this video and you can see for yourself how bad it's getting in Chicago.
Memorial Day residents and city leaders are concerned that crime is trending in the wrong direction. Condo and apartment buildings are the targets for criminals now. Tia Ewing has more on what you need to look out for. Tia.
Well, Dawn, someone may be watching right now thinking I can run downstairs, grab the mail. It'll only take 2 minutes. I'll leave my door unlocked. Under no circumstances should you do that, and especially when I tell you these statistics. Just last week, citywide aggravated battery was up, burglaries, and also robberies, and it's having an impact in the downtown Chicago area. A knife fight in broad daylight. Chicago police tell us two groups got into it in the 600 block of North Michigan Avenue Sunday. One of the men in this video lives here.
That was one big frickin' knife. I'll just let you know that city of Chicago has a law. You're not allowed more than like a 2.5-inch blade. That looked more like 6 or 8 inches to me. Just saying, folks.
Migrant shelter at Inn of Chicago.
It was reported by one of our local...
I think this is the one that they're trying to close down before the DNC hits down, because it's in such a nice area of town.
Local residents who lives adjacent to the migrant shelter at the Inn of Chicago. This individual recognized one of the assailants as a migrant who lives at the Inn of Chicago. So police are investigating that angle right now.
Alderman Brian Hopkins of the 2nd Ward says crime in Streeterville hasn't slowed down, specifically in the areas of Ohio and...
I don't think crime has slowed down anywhere in Chicago, but just saying.
St. Clair.
We're seeing an increase in drug dealing, prostitution.
Drug dealing and what? Drug dealing and what? This is what the migrants are bringing to our city, folks.
And St. Clair.
We're seeing an increase in drug dealing, prostitution, loitering, the associated nuisance activity that goes along with loitering. There's a lot of litter and graffiti that happens, and occasionally a fight, like the knife fight that we just witnessed at Streeterville.
Residents of Streeterville apartments and condos have been warned not to hold the door for other people.
Nice places, huh? And they don't want you to hold the door for anyone. Don't let anyone in.
Because criminals are weaseling their way in, targeting residents, taking valuables from inside their homes.
The First District's doing pretty well when it comes to crime. but we can always improve.
Just days ago, the 1st District Commander David Harris held a conversation with residents talking about crime in downtown. While crime is down 5% overall, burglaries are up 31%.
Some residents have
Those were the crime crews that are running around in broad daylight looking for victims, okay? You don't want to be a victim.
the false sense of security that since they have a doorman, they don't have to lock their door. Well, that's one thing that we need to always lock our door.
Some good advice there, and I do want to point out the fact that the Chicago Police Department did create a robbery task force last week. It's made up of patrol officers and also detectives. They will be working overnight when many of these crimes happen, and the hope here is to put a dent in those numbers. Live tonight, Tia Ewing, Fox 32 Chicago.
So there you go. There you go. There's what's happening in Chicago. Welcome to the show, folks. We're talking about the migrant mayhem here today. And summer's here. Summer's here. Summer crime is here. It's early this year. It's early. It's not even summer yet. We're expected to get some heavy storms this evening. It's supposed to be in the 90s today. And we've got the crime all ready to go with the 90-degree weather. Comment down below where you guys are from and if you have some migrant issues happening in your town. I'm here to tell you if you're from the area of Chicago, Metro Chicago, even the state of Illinois, Brandon Johnson may be exporting some of this fun to your town and to your area. As we keep saying, we're looking forward to the middle of August and the Democratic National Convention, because things are going to get interesting in August, maybe even before, as Brandon tries to clean up the city a little bit and get it ready for the 50 to 60,000 people that are going to be coming for the convention. There's talk of bringing in and deputizing federal authorities. I know they're going to have National Guard directing traffic in certain areas of the city. That's a given. We're going to see that. And it's going to be one interesting August here in Chicago, if not before. So if you caught yesterday's show, we covered what happens on a typical weekend in Chicago, and it's not good. It's not good. I think just in one night, it wasn't even the whole weekend, one night there was like 27 people hit with lead poisoning. They survived, but there was 27 that were impacted by some lead. So there doesn't seem to be a shortage of lead in Chicago. I'm here to tell you. So you got that going for you if you live in Chicago. So wow. So interesting. We're looking for the migrants to head out of the city here and enjoy the fun and the sun in the metropolis and the metro area Chicago. And it's gonna be interesting for the police this summer. I'm sure they're gonna have more than their hands full as things get dicey in Chicago. It's getting dicey, folks. When you've got people living in expensive high rises, complaining about crime and theft, you know you got a problem. So I guess I don't blame the migrants in some respect. They're smart enough to know where the money's at, right? They're probably looking for Amazon packages and anything they can steal and convert into money. I'm hearing that. I also heard on one of the radio shows this morning that someone saw people panhandling in medians on busy roads with young children, which is just crazy. Yeah, Sick Boy. We got a new listener, I think. Sick Boy. Sick Boy's been watching some of our videos. Welcome to the show, Sick Boy. You are definitely sick, man. You are sick. Yeah. So kids are in the medians with their parents panhandling in suburban Chicago. I heard Gulf Road mentioned, which is Morton Grove, Niles area, Glenview, like South Glenview or Gulf. Skokie, got Skokie in that area. So they're making their way out to the suburbs, and it's gonna be an interesting summer here in Chicago. So comment down below if you've got migrants in your hometown causing commotion, causing mayhem, because that's what this show is all about. I noise. What that? What? I'm not sure what that is, buddy. Yep. The burbs are gonna get some migrants, and maybe we want some of this. This is what the migrants are looking for, right? They're looking for a few cash, and they don't want to cause any commotion. And crime is up, prostitution is up. Go figure. Go figure that prostitution is coming along with the migrants. Talk to anybody that spends any time in the city of Chicago, and they comment about what the migrants have brought to the city, and it's not good. It's not good. So personally, I haven't been downtown Chicago for years, and really don't have a desire to go down there after I hear reports of this stuff. Yeah. Some MCAS is saying that New York City is experiencing the same thing. Yeah, New York City is wow, way above Chicago at the moment. They've taken in like 180,000 migrants in New York City. Chicago is only taken in about 42,000, and they're still looking for housing, official housing, for about 8,500. Brian M says, don't be scared to go to Chicago. Not that bad. Where do you live, Brian? Are you down in the city? I've got a couple of listeners that live in Austin, and I'm surprised that they still live there. But Chicago, check out yesterday's show if you think Chicago is a great town. We went through some of the crime stats yesterday, some of the news reports of what happens on a normal weekend in the city of Chicago. And it hasn't gotten that hot. Today's going to be a hot day. We're going to hit 90s. And things are going to get interesting in the next. I mean, we got a holiday coming up. Holiday weekends are always crazy. We've had issues in the past with the teenagers and their meetups and stuff in the Loop and some of the shopping districts of Chicago. And late at night when they shouldn't be out. Years ago, they had problems with them in malls. They would like go to Michigan Avenue and they would hit the malls and in droves and cause lots of problems. They've seemed to sorted that out. But now, if you're under 18, you can't be out past like 10 o'clock. That was a Lori Lightfoot thing. She instituted some new rules because we had like teenagers, 15, 16-year-old kids out past midnight causing commotions in the streets. So they seem to settle it down, at least initially, but we'll see what happens this summer. Summer will be the test on who has control of the city and by how much. And, as I look at Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, if you talk about Brandon Johnson and control in the same sentence, you got to be crazy. I don't think that guy's got control of his own bowels, let alone the control of the city. Yeah. Mofo, I think Mofo's from Michigan. He's on the other side of the lake. He's throwing stuff across the lake to us here. Mofo, Michigan is nothing like Chicago. Nothing like Chicago. You don't know, Michigan don't know what crime is. Michigan is apples and wine and fun compared to Chicago. So Mofo, he says just be packing in downtown. Yeah, there's a lot of packages in downtown. You don't hear too much about the victims fighting back in Chicago. And that's because Chicago has the most restrictive gun laws of any city in the nation. But it doesn't stop the criminals. Let me just say that. It doesn't stop the criminals that there are restrictive gun laws in Chicago. Yeah. And MCAS says it's shocking to him that the people coming from these other countries believe that they have the same rights as citizens because they are in America. That is insane. That is insane, and you're correct. You're correct. They really think that just because they're here and we let them in, that they're entitled to free stuff, they're entitled to health care, they're entitled to housing, and in some cases they are. They have. We've got all these NGOs in Chicago who have helped the city of Chicago clear its shelters to some extent and find apartments for these people, and also find some seed money to get them into an apartment for 3 to 4 months without them having to even work. There was another, I don't know if you guys watched, there's another podcaster out there called Ford Boss Me. And he runs a business in Brighton Park, which is kind of west Chicago. Right off of 55 in Archer. And he says that he sees migrants coming into his shop doing DoorDash because he runs an automotive business. They fix cars and trucks. And every once in a while, the parts people that he deals with, if they don't have a delivery person, they'll DoorDash it to them. And he's saying that he's seeing illegals coming into his shop delivering parts for these parts suppliers who can't speak English. They just point at their cell phone, and they want him to sign everything so they get paid. So they're doing the same thing that they do in New York City with the DoorDash and the Grubhub, but only this is car parts, I guess. You can have they're utilizing Grubhub and DoorDash to deliver car parts to repair shops in the city of Chicago. Yeah, virtual reality. Long time since I've heard from you, bud. He says when driving through Chicago, I never stop for gas No, I wouldn't either. I mean, you're paying more in the city of Chicago. You got a county tax, you got a city tax, and if you're south of Congress Parkway, you don't want to get off the tollways in the city of Chicago, especially if it's dark. It gets kind of sketchy anywhere south of Congress Parkway. Yeah, well, yeah, the 31st beach. Actually, there's some guy, they pulled somebody out of the water this weekend on the 31st beach. On the north side of town, there was a guy that caught some lead. Montrose Harbor, I believe, which is north side. That's like the good part of town. And he was standing in a parking lot and caught some lead over the weekend. So, yeah. The mofo says it's under control so far in western. You know what? Western Michigan, that's where all the dailies and the political elites of Chicago spend their summers. Mofo, I don't know if you know that. Richard Daley's got a place over there, and I believe David Axelrod, to name a few names, who like to enjoy. I think they're in Buffalo there, New Buffalo area. They like to summer over there. There's a lot of people that head to southern southwest Michigan for the summer. It's a great place to visit, great place to vacation. We haven't been there in a while, but we plan on maybe making a trip over there this summer to enjoy New Buffalo. I like Redemax over there. Check out, if you're in Michigan heading towards Detroit or anything, check out Redemax and the Salty Dog. I think that's the place in New Buffalo. Beautiful restaurant with a rooftop dining overlooking the lakefront there, the harbor. So, Virtual Reality says he listens to Ford Boss Me. Yeah, he's back and he's working hard. He's working hard for his dollars, and he's not happy about the migrants. He sees what's happening. He sees what's happening in the city of Chicago. He lives in the suburbs, but he works in the city, so he can tell you that things have gone to hell in the city of Chicago. Anyone that says it hasn't doesn't have their head on straight, and they're probably not even opening their eyes. I mean, you got people on every corner of downtown, close to the train station, selling candy bars and chiclets with little kids with them, and they don't speak English. They don't no speak English. No speak English, but they want your money. They want your money. I'm sure they make a good living selling chiclets because there's a lot of people that feel for them. There's a lot of liberals in Chicago, and yeah. Virtual Reality. She's female. Okay, that's good. Yeah, you don't want to be driving in south side of Chicago by yourself, especially if you're a female. I don't even let my wife drive around the suburbs here anymore by herself, because you never know. You never know what's happening. So we've even locked down the house here, guys. There's been a lot of door-to-door problems in my neighborhood in the past. Check out the video I did about knocking on my door. We don't take highly to people knocking on our door, whether you're selling something or maybe you're someone else. I did some videos about door-to-door solicitation in the suburbs, and you want to be safe. Yeah, what's I've never heard of eye noise. What's that? What is eye noise, folks? Don't know what eye noise is. Yeah, Brian M says, what neighborhood you from? Hey, I'm from the Northwest Burbs. That's where we're at. We're in the Northwest Burbs of Chicago. And Virtual Reality says she's not afraid to drive anywhere. I know where not to go after dark. Hey, you need to do where are you from, Virtual Reality? You from the Chicago area? You need to double check the crime stats. The crime stats in Chicago in the last year have shown that the nice areas of town are having some problems. Northwest Side, which is traditionally a place where cops and firemen live, has been decimated with after dark crime. Where they're also seeing, I've got a neighbor who just moved out of the city from Lincoln Square. Lincoln Square has traditionally been a really nice up and coming area. Schaumburg, Brian M says Schaumburg. Yeah, Schaumburg's close to me. Schaumburg's got some problems too. There's crime everywhere across the metro area of Chicago. Virtual Reality says she was born and raised in Chicago. She hopes to never live there again. Well, there you go. There you go. In the last 5 to 6 years, I mean, Chicago has never been a real safe place. We always had the Italian gangsters, right? They always find bodies at the airport in trunks. You don't hear about that much anymore, but now it's the gangs that are happening, folks. It's the gangs in Chicago that have turned the city upside down, and in reality, the gangs control the city. I just heard a report yesterday that they have 120,000 documented gang members in the city of Chicago. Years and years ago, it used to be 2 or 3 gangs in the city. In the last 10 years, they've said there's micro gangs. There's upwards of 5,000 different gangs in the city of Chicago, and they all got their own turf. They're all fighting for turf. They're all trying to expand their businesses. So it's not, Chicago is not the place to be roaming around if you don't know where you're at and you don't know where it is you want to go and how the safest way to get there. As I said before, my rule of thumb is if you're south of Congress Parkway, which is like right in the middle of the city, the dividing line for North and South Chicago, you don't want to be south of Congress Parkway, especially if it's dark out. During the day, it may, the problem with the south side and the west side of Chicago is, it's not just that there's bad areas, it's that they go from bad to good, to bad, and back and forth quite literally. Some areas of the south and west side of Chicago will have a couple of good blocks, and then it'll just turn bad. Example, Barack Obama, right? You guys have heard of Barack Obama. His house is in Hyde Park, which is a nice area. But even when he was in office in Washington, D.C., they had shootings and deaths within blocks of his house. Because if you go west of Hyde Park, it gets kind of nasty, and it's not a good neighborhood. So there's an example where, one of the most famous people of Chicago, his house was not the place you want to be late at night when it's dark. So he doesn't come back to Chicago much, and I think his house is sitting empty. They have police barricades around it. You can't drive down his street, I don't think, anymore. And it's to the point, like if one of the houses on his street goes up for sale, and you wanna check out that house, even though it's not Brock's house, it's just on his street. You have to be reported to the Secret Service to look at a house for sale on his street. That's how restrictive it is around his house. Even though like I said, he doesn't live there. He comes to town rarely, and I believe his house has been sitting empty for probably 6 years now. So there you go. Well, thanks for joining us today. I don't know where we're at in this. We're at 29 minutes, a little bit longer than we have today. Check out, I just released a couple of shorts today. Car show season is starting tonight. I don't know if we'll make it out tonight or not because we're expecting some powerful storms to come through late night here, probably 6, 7 o'clock. Virtual reality says I had a wonderful life growing up in the late 20s in Chicago. She moved to South Florida, moved back to Chicago in the 90s, left in the 90s, and loved living in the South Burbs. Yeah, what South Burbs are we talking about? Have you been through Harvey or Chicago Heights lately, or East Chicago, or what's some other? How about Dalton? Do you live in Dalton? Check out those cities. I'm not a fan of the South Suburbs. It's yeah, it's gets ghetto sometimes in the South Suburbs. Let's just say that. A little ghetto in some parts of the South Suburbs. Although there's some nice suburbs too, but places like Tinley Park are starting to change. Down in Tinley Park from what I hear. But anyway, so I'm going to end for today. Thanks for joining. I still want to know what eye noise is. What is eye noise? I don't know. Okay, I'll have to Google that and find out what the hell eye noise is all about. But anyway, DJ Wonder Chrissy for Land Cruiser Midwest and Migrant Mayhem. Signing out. Check out our new videos that released the last couple of weeks, guys. Lots of good content on the channel. See ya.